Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Evil Within, the Executioner DLC video walkthrough. This is a two-part installment, and it is how to do it without taking damage, because there is an achievement / trophy for beating the entire Executioner DLC without taking damage. So a couple of things I'm going to talk about here. Firstly, as you can tell by the visuals, this is being played on the Xbox 360. Gameplay-wise, nothing is different. Visually, incredibly different to the PS4 and what have you. To do no damage on this run is incredibly difficult if you were to do it from a new game, but luckily enough, you can continue from previous progress. So the startup that I would recommend before you attempt this is at least have an idea of how to play, at least play the DLC a couple times, because not only will you know where you're going, know what to expect, but you'll also know just how much currency you have, because a lot of the strategies you're going to be seeing right now are going to involve me using the rocket launcher, and it costs, I think it's 80 coins to refill your rocket launcher, which gives you 10 rockets, and you're going to need about 2 refills to do what I'm about to do in this playthrough. That being said, on New Game Plus, on your second run through of the game, if you can do the final torment, which is pretty easy up to the very final wave, and then it goes to planet bullshit in 3 seconds, you will get the ability to purchase unlimited ammo for every single item that the Keeper can use, and I'm going to be purchasing that. That being said, I'm not going to be using it as I could use it, because I don't think it would be that much fun to watch, so instead I'm just going to buy it, as you see here, and I'm going to use it when I need to with the rocket launcher, but for everything else I'm probably just going to use the hammer in between. So, the Executioner DLC. As you can notice, this is the first piece of content from the Evil Within that does not have the bars. I have a full screen to look at, and it was kind of weird, and it made me wish that the rest of the game was like this, but then the perspective is different, isn't it? As you've noticed, we're now in first person. It's kinda janky. The Witcher is incredibly The Witcher? Why did I say Witcher, damn it? The Keeper, sorry. The Witcher is slow, fuck that guy. But, sorry, the Keeper is incredibly slow. And you upgrade his speed to make him a little bit more mobile, and it does get better. But the thing that you really have to get into the habit of doing is after every animation, you want to press the dodge to just cancel out of it and get some extra distance away from anything, because the Keeper does not have a block, he does not have any kind of parry mechanic, all he has is raw offense, because his mobility just isn't good enough. And you can do some pretty cool things with this character and some pretty fun stuff, but for the most, it does feel like you're trying to move a wardrobe without any help, and he's absolutely terrible when it comes to going through doorways because he clips on them like an idiot. So you cannot go through a doorway in any kind of speed. You're going to see it here. Look, I cannot get through. You have to line him up and go through properly. But here is your first guy. I'm trying to do a run attack here, but the attack wasn't triggering because I wasn't running long enough. But the run attack is incredibly damaging. It seems to be a little bit more damaging than the first 2 hits of the combo, but on par with the 3rd hit of the combo, which is kind of the ender. And we're going to be taking on our first boss here, which is the Sadist. And this is an interesting fight, because I have done this on a new game with no damage. All you have to do is kill the first 2 guys and then aggressively attack the Sadist. The best strategy I have found is to run at him with the running attack, hit him with the very tip of the hammer, and then dodge backwards. And if you do that, you can pretty much get through him quickly. However, for the purpose of this walkthrough, I wanted it to be as quick as it could be, and you're going to see just how devastating the rocket launcher is, because the Sadist is going to spawn now, and then he's going to die. So it's pretty crazy that they enable you to do this, but it's also cool because it fits in with the jankiness of the game. Like, I got a massive God Hand vibe from this just because of how raw it is, and especially the barrels that you were breaking. They didn't look great on the Xbox 360, and God Hand didn't look great as a game. However, that's pretty much where the influence ends, because I think mechanically this DLC is pretty weak. There's not enough to it to make it something that I think people are really going to study and really enjoy for a long time. But that being said, I think it's just on the right side of retarded and dumb enough that there's a lot of fun to be had. Like, I've beaten this now maybe 5 or 6 times, and I do enjoy the clunkiness and the just the silliness of smashing people's heads with this hammer with a crown on it. But you'll notice as I land the hit, I immediately dodge to try and cancel out of any potential hits. It's the best way to fight. by far. This is the three-hit combo. The last hit has a massive wind-up, but it's incredibly devastating. And you'll hear just now the door to my right just opened up, but I'm going to skip it because you can. And we're going to do the rather famous transition that the keeper can do, which doesn't really do anything to the gameplay, doesn't really add anything. The gameplay is very simple for this entire piece. You're going to go through small areas, you're going to get to boss rooms with enemies that you've killed before, and there's going to be some kind of gimmick to it. This right here is one of the twins. This is actually a really good fight as well. The strategy for doing it without the rocket launcher is pretty similar to the one with it. You want to kite this dude around the room, and you want to hit him with the spear guns and then capitalize with some damage. The damage is up to you. You can throw Molotovs, you can hit him with the sword, but you want to do as much damage as possible, and then you want to execute him because you'll get an extra bit of damage and you get the invincibility of the animation. I'm going to show you it here. I fire rockets at this dude. I should have fired maybe one more and I would have been able to execute him with this, but I thought this would finish him off, and it doesn't, as you just saw, because I overestimated the damage. The reason I'm doing it this way is because there's an endless stream of Haunted that'll show up during the fight that make it a little more challenging, but it isn't difficult at all, especially if you do the strategy I just showed you, which I think is a strategy everybody's going to do, because fighting with the hammer and dodging as the keeper is pretty tricky to do and pretty tricky to get used to. So as impressive as it would be to watch, I don't think it'd help anybody, because it's a lot of trial and error, it's a lot of playing, really. And I find it kind of hilarious that this DLC was £3, £3.19 or something retarded. Yet it's the same length as all the other DLCs when you think about it. Like, on my first playthrough, this took me an hour and a half to beat. On every other piece of Julie Kidman DLC, it took me about an hour and a half to beat, and they were almost 3 times as much in price. And the content there, I suppose it was a bit more fully realised and more effort went into it, but it wasn't that much better for it to be that price. Like, can you imagine if each of the pieces was like £3 to £4? I think that would be a perfect price for something, because a lot of the people who've played the Evil Within DLCs don't like them. Like, I've been looking on forums, I've been doing a lot of scanning just to see what the consensus and the thoughts of the public is when it comes to the DLC, and almost all of the ones I've read have been negative. Have been in some ways taking away from what they loved about the Evil Within, which was the stuff with Sebastian, and then the DLCs just going these different directions, and they didn't like it. And as much as I appreciate the diversity, and I had a lot of fun with the DLCs, I completely agree. Like, we did not... If you would have bought the Season Pass at the beginning, before you had any idea what the content was, do you think you still would have bought it having full knowledge of what the content is now? I think a lot of people wouldn't. Watch this. The game moves my aimer here, and this is dangerous because Joseph's got a gun. So watch where my aimer is when it gives control back to me. All you need to do is put a rocket near him to knock him down. If you don't do it fast enough, he will shoot you. The second rocket will kill him. This is the exact same strategy you can use against Sebastian. The only difference is he takes a couple of extra rockets because he's like a tougher boss. That being said, fighting these particular enemies, Joseph and Sebastian, is really frustrating because of the gun. I don't really understand what they were thinking when they designed it. I really think that the keeper should have a guard where he puts the hammer in front of his face and it deflects the bullets, but he moves slower or something, because it's not fair. It's straight up not fair. Like, on the final torment, you have to fight Joseph and Sebastian at the same time, and the damage they do to your character is staggering, and the damage they take is borderline obscene. Like, it was the dumbest thing I did in this entire DLC, and I honestly didn't enjoy it. And the worst part is, all the waves before it, I was doing with the hammer and no weapons, and I was having a ton of fun because they were all the different subsets, and it was a really interesting situation having all the Haunted coming all the time, and then these bigger ones attacking you, and, you know, using the Sadist to kill the Haunted and vice versa. And I had a lot of fun with it, and I thought it was interesting. And then at the end, the elevators open up and you've just got 2 characters that never flinch, that do massive damage, and that just don't die. Like, the first time I came across them, I hit them with 10 rockets, I threw all my dynamite, I threw all my Molotovs, I was hitting them with hammers, and I didn't even kill one of them. And they take off a quarter of your life if they decide to do certain attacks, and sometimes they take off even more if they do like the really damaging melee attacks. And then they've got guns that stun you when you try and cover distance to them. Like, it's just the worst thing in the world. And the way I ended up doing it was literally bouncing both of them into the corner with a rocket launcher and keeping them there with Molotovs. And it only killed one of them after everything I had in a full inventory, so I was chasing down bloody Joseph for like 5 minutes, and I managed to knock him down with the running attack, and then I did an execution, and when he was on the ground, because I was using the sword, he does this unique stabbing animation, and I just kept stabbing the dude on the floor, and then he died. But I didn't feel like I'd earned it. I didn't feel like I knew anything more about the game. I just felt like it was incredibly lazy, and it sucks because I think everything before that point in the Torment is really good and really fun. But those two characters, they just smile through your attacks, and then they do massive damage to you, and they knock you over. Like, it's really, really bad. But the joy is, once you've done that, you've done the hardest thing in the DLC, and then you can do this effortlessly should you need to. But we're moving through a familiar area here. Do be careful of these walls, they will instantly kill the Keeper. There are no difficulties on this DLC, there's just a preset difficulty, and if you use your vision, you can actually see a coin on top of the bins if you're wanting to get more currency, but I wouldn't risk it if you're going for the no damage one, just in case. It'll just make it a bit smoother. And of course this is the area, was it chapter 11 or something on the game, something like that, where you're running through the crazy trap area. However, this is incredibly easy compared to the main game. Like, Akumu difficulty spoilt us when it comes to, you know, just having something that was incredibly punishing all the time. And when you come back to these and you play this, nowhere near the same. But up next is the messiest fight of the run. It's against the rocket launcher Sadist, the RPG Sadist. He manages to get away from me because I don't keep him stunned, and then it turns into a bit of a rocket fest. But the good news is this guy follows a preset path every time. He runs down the left-hand flank of this room, he drops down, and then he stands there and gets ready to fire at you. So with that knowledge, you can use it to punish him. However, I hesitated here because I didn't want to get shot by a rocket, and it fucked me up. And as you can see, we're in a bit of a Quake fight right now. This is Quake 2 all over again. There's him pulling out the chainsaw. Do not shoot anything at him when he's doing that, because he gets insane amounts of armor. And then apparently I knocked him through the graphics, so we get this really interesting parallax under the floor. Always fun. It's not really a parallax, is it? It's just kind of like a pull out. But there you go. He drops pretty effectively. It opens up the next way, and we're pretty close to the end of the DLC now. So thank you very much for watching. Good luck with the first part, and I will see you in the climax. You take care now.